Good afternoon, everybody. It's Chris Frew with BioBuzz for this week's episode of What's the Buzz? This week it's on What's the Buzz on dual use technologies, which I'm really excited to dig into. Special guest this week is Dr. Katie Bratlie, who is the new Director of Innovation Ecosystem and Labs at the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for Military Medicine. Katie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's a long, I'm just going to say HJF from now on when I.
Yes.
What a great title, too. Director of Innovation Ecosystem. I think that, if I could write a title, it would probably be something similar to that, too.
Yeah, it's nice. It encompasses everything.
Yeah. These interviews, Katie, as you know, are where we interview ecosystem builders like yourself to learn about what you're doing, how you're growing the ecosystem, and share with others to make sure that we can get your message out there and more people know about the resources you have and the amazing work you're doing. Before we jump into our conversation, let me just take care of a little bit of housekeeping. So as always, I'd like to thank, I always say, our real ecosystem builder, CRB, the design, engineering, and building firm that builds a lot of the labs and manufacturing buildings that you see across the BioHealth Capital region and nationwide. So I want to thank CRB for sponsoring us today. They are literally building the ecosystem that you and I are talking about today.
Great.
So thank you to CRB. And again, for those of you who are tuning in, please be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you haven't joined our membership community online, please visit us at biobuzz.io and join and subscribe. Make sure you get updates on these programs as well as a lot of others that we host. So, Katie, let's jump into why everyone tuned in today.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, can you give us a foundation? Who is HJF and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so HJF, our focus has always been in military medicine. We were established about 40 years ago. We're a nonprofit entity, and we do research that's all focused on improving the military. So all aspects of that troop, from when they're in active duty all the way through to when they're a veteran, and including their family, who are often stationed with them through that life cycle as well. And recently we've launched the Innovation Ecosystem Initiative. And so that's what I was brought on to work on. And part of that is what we're here to talk about, which is supporting startups that are interested in developing products for military medicine and dual use, like we're going to talk about.
Good. That's great. So as an organization, historically, you've supported research, you've supported kind of clinical studies, and so anything that really encompasses where military medicine is needed.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And the home base is in Maryland, in the Rockville area, correct?
Yeah, our home base is in Bethesda, and then we also have locations elsewhere like Rockville.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit, before we jump into the innovation ecosystem, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you just recently joined. What can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of why this was an exciting opportunity for you to step into?
Yeah, so my background, I did my PhD in chemistry, and then I took a complete about face and went to do biomaterials research at MIT, where I was working on the artificial pancreas. And so the idea is that you can encapsulate insulin-producing cells in a polymer, transplant them into a diabetic patient. The insulin-producing cells are responsive to that person's blood sugar levels, and they have no more diabetes. And that sounds very impressive. And it was proposed about 45 years ago, at least, I think now. And it has come up against some serious stumbling blocks. So what we were trying to do is improve the biomaterial that we were using to make it more biocompatible, because that's what the problem ends up being, is that you get essentially scar tissue forming around this. And so we were able to make some materials that look like they work well in animal trials. Started a company called Sigilon that was acquired by Eli Lilly. And during that time, I moved to become a faculty member at Iowa State doing biomaterials and drug delivery research, continuing on that vein. And then I worked for NSF in the SBIR portfolio, along with the PFI portfolio, the Partnerships for Innovation, which has now changed its name, in pharmaceutical technologies. And after that, I went to the National Academies of Sciences. And then I came over to HJF because I really enjoy working on these nascent technologies. And I think that working with a lot of companies and getting them up and off the ground is a really exciting place to be.
That's really exciting. I appreciate you sharing your background. So you've got experience launching your own company, doing research and innovative, novel research, launching your own company, raising funds, I'm sure, doing deals with big pharma. You've also have experience in, the SBIR innovation grant programs out there. So you bring it sounds like a really good backdrop to, I guess, what you're going to be facing in this new mission of yours.
I hope so. I hope that I'm going to be helpful to these startup companies.
Well, let's talk about that. So HJF launches this new innovation ecosystem. Can you unpack that a little bit? What is an innovation ecosystem initiative?
Yeah, so the Innovation Ecosystem Initiative, it's a large and encompassing thing, and the incubator is going to be a part of that. But we're also interested in taking the technology that we have developed at HJF and also the Uniform Services University, which we partner with, taking that technology and moving it along the commercialization pipeline. So we're really interested in everything that's under the military medicine umbrella. And we're only one piece of that. So that's why we call it an Innovation Ecosystem Initiative, because there are lots of people throughout Maryland and the rest of the world that are working on similar problems. But we're hoping to do our part in that.
So the new incubator is launching. Can you tell us a bit, let's focus on that. What's the mission of the incubator? Kind of what are some of the goals that you're trying to launch? Can you tell us a bit, maybe the timeline that you have laid out?
Yeah, so our mission is to support startups and researchers and entrepreneurs advancing their innovations. It's particularly focused towards dual use. And when I say dual use, what I mean is it's something that could be used in both the military and in the civilian commercial markets. And particularly for us, since HJF focuses on military medicine, we're further bucketing that down and saying that it has to be applicable in healthcare. So the reason that we're choosing to go this route where it's dual use is that startups in biotech and medtech and everything in the healthcare space, they have lots of challenges taking their products to market. There's, money, time, all resources, and then you add in the regulation on top of this, and it gets to be a really complicated problem to solve. Then if you want to interact with the military and and market to the military, you're adding on all of these extra complexities of dealing with the Department of Defense. And so that's going to extend the runway from getting product to commercialization. So we think that we can really advance military medicine or move the needle on military medicine by helping companies that have markets in both of these areas. And so the timeline for this, we're in the middle of the timeline right now. So we had a pre-application phase. And so we've seen some interesting companies coming out of that we're really excited about. We've invited them to submit a full application. And their full application, they're going to present in front of our Innovation Advisory Committee, who is meeting at the end of next month. And then based on the feedback that we get from that, we will make a decision as to which companies will be invited into the incubator. And the incubator is currently undergoing construction. They are in our home office in Bethesda. And so we broke ground about a month and a half ago. By broke ground, I mean they tore out the carpet. They're not building extra walls. So they're projected to be finished with construction by the middle of December. And so we're going to try to get companies moving in at the beginning of January. And what we're trying to do is I want to have cohorts so that we have a different age of companies that are in the incubator at any one time. So we're not going to fill the entire incubator up to begin with. So we're going to have additional cohorts that will be coming in. And so we're anticipating that we will have another innovation advisory committee meeting in probably April. And so we'll open up the pre-application cycle probably beginning of 2026.
That's great. Yeah, I appreciate you explaining that. I think that makes sense, the cohort model. I mean, and then you can also really give good, strong attention to, the group that comes in first, and it creates a nice cycle for you. So you've got a first round in. What does a startup get if they get approved to join the incubator? Can you tell us about some of the benefits and kind of why a company should consider the lab?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you get space, obviously, and this will be space that's more similar to the space that you might have used when you were at a university doing your PhD, where EHS is already taking care of waste. There's already a cleaning crew that comes in. So all of the normal stuff that you would have to handle if you were renting lab space, you don't have to deal with, because we're going to take care of that. We also will have an equipment facility, a shared equipment facility. We are waiting until we get the first cohort in to decide what equipment would be most useful. I'm going to talk to those companies to find out what they would use, and then we'll continue to update our equipment as we go as well. And then I think that the real gem of our program is the programming and events that we're going to be offering. So everything is really tailored to dual use and military medicine, because we're at HJF. And so what we're going to be able to do is bring in very specialized programming tailored to the companies that are going to be in the incubator. So for instance, we'll have lunch and learns on SBIR proposal writing. And since I was at NSF, I think that I have a bit of an idea as to what reviewers like, but we're going to do more of a proposal lab instead of just talking about what components are needed. So hopefully that'll increase the likelihood of people getting funded for their non-dilutive grants. We also have access to a lot of people who know the ins and outs of the FDA, because we do clinical trials. And so we're going to try to do tailored matches between the companies and our experts at HJF, so that we can really build out a tailored plan as far as what do I need to be doing in order to be able to meet my milestones to get funding from outside investors. And then we'll also have events that are open to the public, like the event that we're going to be having with BioBuzz on September 29th, that we hope that everybody will be able to attend.
Yes, great plug. Yeah, I hope everyone, we'll make sure the link is in the comments section for everybody for that. So it sounds like one of the, aside from space and the incubator, the benefits of a lot of incubators that Jeff, you're providing this kind of demystifying the roadmap through the DoD pipeline and supporting that progress.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah. So what we would even call ourselves navigators, because we have expertise working with the DoD, NIH, FDA. We have commercialization partners. And then we also know the dual use space. So we know what the military is actually looking for, which can be a little bit mystifying for startup companies who have they feel a patriotic call to develop technologies that would be useful for the military. But sometimes it's understanding what the military needs can be a little opaque.
Yeah. I like that navigator term. I mean, you can really visualize. I mean, again, the government space is a whole different space. DoD space is a whole different space. It's hard enough to start a startup, yet to have one where you're kind of looking at both complex regulatory and complex, DoD pathways at the same time. You kind of, I'm sure the impact that the innovation lab will be huge, because I'm sure that's where a lot of companies get held up.
Yeah. And that's what we're really hoping, is that we're really hoping that that HJF is going to be, and Maryland as a whole is going to be known as a hub for dual use technologies.
Yeah.
And I mean, Maryland has a lot of great things going for it already that make it a natural fit for dual use. I mean, we have all sorts of facilities like Walter Reed, Fort Detrick, NIH, FDA. All of these places are located very closely, not to mention the commercial side of that equation, where we have a lot of startups and a lot of established companies in this area.
Yeah. Now, you've got some good partners that you've worked with to get to this point and are part of the innovation ecosystem, right? Like Montgomery County, TEDCO.
Yep.
Could you talk about some of the partners that kind of have been involved in the process?
Yeah, Montgomery County and TEDCO have both been great partners to work with. We received grants from both of them to assist with the construction of the incubator space, which is very helpful. Construction is always a difficult thing to fund. And then we are also partnering with TEDCO and working with them on how we can use both of our, and Montgomery County as well, how we can leverage all of our programming events so that we're able to provide everybody who's in the ecosystem access to these really great events that we're planning on putting on.
Well, I'm glad to see that as director of innovation ecosystem, that you're truly living up to that, and really, collaborating across the state to really make this hub happen.
Yeah.
So if there's a startup that's interested, how do they know if they have a technology that could be dual use? I mean, there's some that come to market and say, I'm going to create this because I was in the military and I saw this problem. So that's one kind of track that's probably out there. But there's probably innovators out there that have identified, a novel technology, a diagnostics or a tool that could have dual application. So can you walk through how a startup can identify if maybe they should come to you and apply?
I would say that the startup should go and feel free to contact us if they're questioning whether or not they have dual use, because we are happy to help you walk through that, because it can be really complicated knowing what it is that the military could be using. So some areas that the military is looking for is they're anticipating that prolonged care is going to be an issue. So taking care of patients and stabilizing them when they're in the field for a longer time. So this may be days before they can actually get to a hospital. There's also performance and mental health issues. So if you are in a very intense situation, we want to make sure that the person is able to perform at their best. But there's a lot of other areas like emerging infectious disease, all kinds of different challenges that the military is facing. And the military, their challenges, they change depending on what the next war is that they're thinking that they might enter into or that they're planning for. So we are happy to talk to people who have an idea and want to maybe I'll say spitball whether or not they can use this as a dual use technology. I think that can be where we can get a lot of really creative ideas.
Yeah, that's great. So I hope I'm sure your inbox is going to get flooded after that opening. So and I guess another question I have for you is like how are the HJF ecosystem that is out there right now? Is that where you're learning? I mean, so a lot of the information is coming directly from the military, and you're sifting through the ecosystem. So you have that kind of insights, almost like a funnel, right? So the research you're doing, the engagements you already have, you're hearing firsthand, not through RFPs, not through other stuff, but your team's hearing directly from the DoD end user on like, these are things that we're concerned with this, and then I guess am I right that you're then taking that and saying, great, here's the wish list, or here's what we're hearing, and then able to engage the ecosystem to identify that?
That's exactly right. So we have a number of people who served in the military and then retired and are now working at HJF. And so those folks are able to maintain their ties along with other people who are working at HJF, have ties to various agencies within DoD. And they're able to tell us what the military is looking for.
That's great. So a couple other questions about the applicants, Katie. So this first cohort's coming in now. You said another, the other application will be hopefully coming out in 20. Is it a rolling application, or is it based on when you're announcing the next application?
It's based on when we're announcing the next application at this point. That's something that perhaps will change in the future, but right now we're doing it on a roll. We're doing it on an on a cycle basis.
Yeah. And is there any funding that HGF provides as well, or is the lab space, is funding part of this at all? This is a question that came in from our chat.
Yeah, we have, so lab space is part of this. And then what we also have is there is a venture fund that is associated with HJF. It's called HJF MDC Venture Fund. And so there's a potential to get funding out of that fund. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not guaranteed when when an application is approved, the funding is not part of it, but you are then able to apply for funding from the venture fund.
Exactly, that's right.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about? So you talked about like some of the SBIR programs and some of the other networking events. How will you be engaging outside of these your programs? How will you be reaching out to identify startups and identify new technologies or innovations? What do you have planned for really kind of trying to identify and find and engage with the community?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it can be really difficult to find those good companies, and there's a lot of them out there. One obvious place to look is SBIR awardees. There's a list of those companies, so it makes it a little bit easier to go through. And the nice thing about that list is that we can go through the non-DoD companies and try to find companies that might have a dual use and not have come across that terminology before. Mm-hmm. So that's one big way that we are doing this. We also advertise at various conferences, so like TEDCO, their Entrepreneur Expo. We work with TEDCO. TEDCO also has a grant process, and so we work with some of their program directors about companies that are interested in doing dual use, and they have a Def Tech. I always trip over that word. I don't know why, but they have a Def Tech section, which is defense technologies, and they have medical technologies as part of that, as well as others that fit in the defense sphere. So those are kind of the main ways that we're going about this to try to find companies.
And of course, you're an annual sponsor for our BioBuzz Insights to Impact series, which every month we get startups that come out too. So hopefully you'll connect with a couple of them. Then we'll make sure we try to target some. I know we are for the September 29th event. So while we're in the last couple of minutes of our conversation today, can you give people a little bit of a foreshadowing for the upcoming event that we have with you on the 29th? Tell us a little bit about what they can expect.
Yeah, that's a great lead in. So what we're having is our event is going to be, I believe it starts at 4 or 4:30, and we're going to have a little bit of a networking event first, and then we will go into a fireside chat between myself and Troy over at TEDCO, the CEO of TEDCO. And we'll just talk about the innovation ecosystem and what we have planned for the future. And then after that, we're having a roundtable with 3 different companies, and they'll be talking about how it's going to be talking about their insights to working with the DoD, since they have actually done what I am talking about right now. So I think it should be a great event. After that, we will have another networking session with some hors d'oeuvres. And so I think that'll be a great chance for anybody who's interested in dual use or medical technologies or military technologies to come and talk to other people in that area.
Great. So I think, yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the chat with you and Troy to really hear all the things, because you mentioned before, there's a lot that Maryland has in this kind of DoD space and the innovation space. And between you and TEDCO, coming together on this, I can see that being a really high growth area for the region, and an incredible asset, especially when we know there's been a lot of funding cuts in the government, but DoD hasn't really seen that much of it, as much of an impact as others. So you're in an area that's definitely one that we need to continue to invest and build in.
Yes, I agree.
So we're excited. We're very excited about the event to partner with you. And so I encourage everybody that is a startup that is possibly thinking they might have a technology that the military could use, or just wants to understand this better, so that maybe your next startup, you can think about it. Please come out and join us on the 29th. It's going to be a really good event, opportunity to network, and the labs won't be ready yet, but you'll have a chance to kind of meet the HJF staff and get to know really more about the hub of military medicine and innovation that they're really building down there.
Yep.
Well, good. Well, I guess in the last couple of minutes, Katie, any closing thoughts that you have, or message for people that are listening today?
I mean, I would just kind of reiterate what you've already said, that if anybody is in a startup or a researcher or a potential partner or investor who's interested in knowing more about the ecosystem, I think that the best way to do that is by stopping by the event on the 29th. And we don't have a calendar yet of the events that are going to be happening for our particular for HJF in the new year. But when we do have that, I encourage everybody to stop by and ask us any questions that you might have about military medicine and dual use.
Perfect. I know I said I was going to let you close it out, but you just made me think one more thing. Investors are a critical part of the equation.
Yeah.
What can you say about why investors should be interested in this field and this area? And any thoughts around that?
Well, so I talked about how there's a lot of complexities with going after DoD for medtech, biotech, anything in the healthcare system, because it adds that extra layer of complexity. But there's also advantages. I mean, every disadvantage seems like it comes with an advantage, and that is you now have two markets that you can go after. One is the commercial market. Maybe there's multiple different sub-markets you can go after, and there's the military market. So that can be a real advantage there. And then there's also, the heart, going after your heart, if you are interested in fulfilling your patriotic duty and trying to help out with the troops.
I like the way you put that. For every kind of disadvantage and advantage that comes along with it. And,
yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, investors these days, we work with a lot of investors and VCs, and I think, again, with a lot of the changes in the economy and things like that, people are looking for where to put capital that that can, I don't want to say de-risk, but that can have a clear line of a path. And it sounds like with HJF and with you, Katie, investors and startups have a partner that are going to help to de-risk at least the military medicine path.
Yes.
For startups.
Yep, that's what we are aiming to do, because it's a very complicated beast.
Until they meet you, and then you decomplicate it.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much for taking time today. Really appreciate it. We're thrilled to partner with you all, and we look forward to the event on the 29th. It's going to be an awesome event. And again, I appreciate you carving off your afternoon to chat with us and our audience today.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So thank you all for tuning in today. Please tune back in. We have a great fall lineup. You can see the lineup of a lot of our upcoming What's the Buzz on our website. So make sure you go sign in. Make sure you update your preferences and membership accounts so you can get our breaking news and updated events. But we're going to be talking with a lot more ecosystem builders, just like Katie, all fall, and promoting a lot of the events that are happening. The ones and the events and things that you need to know about, like the one we have on the 29th, as well as the TEDCO Expo, which is coming up this October. If you're in the startup ecosystem, that's a must-attend event for anybody. Maryland, DC, Virginia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's not just a Maryland event. This is a tremendous opportunity to access resources, investors, and insights that will help your startup, and not just life sciences either. And then the Bioinnovation Conference, if you're not attending that, that's next week, held by the Maryland Tech Council. That one's coming up very soon as well. So a lot of opportunities if you're growing a business, developing new technology in Maryland or beyond. A lot of opportunities in the coming fall for you to get some value and engage. Again, especially with HJF on the 29th. So thank you all. And until next time, we'll talk soon.